Five of Swords. Okay, welcome to Daily Divinity. We are talking about the Five of Swords. What's it all about? What do you need to know when this card comes up in your tarot reading? It's like not a pleasant card, but like any other tarot card, it is trying to tell you something useful. So what could that be? Well, thank you for watching, and the agenda for this video and for all the other card overviews that I will share is as follows. 3 words to summarize the card, a visual description of the imagery in the card, so a purely visual breakdown of what's in the card, the meaning of said imagery, and then I have some different decks. Sorry that that pencil was so enormous in the camera. Different decks that with different imagery and a slightly different interpretation of the same archetype, the same stage, the same phase. However you want to think of the different cards and how they represent them in the minor arcana, where you're at, right? So those are different interpretations from different decks. And finally, I will provide guiding questions to help you apply the Five of Swords to your life and your situation and your reading in particular. Cool. Okay. 3 words. 3 words. Okay. This card, I'm like, you can't see me, but I'm holding my forehead in my hands right now because my eyebrows are up like Jack Nicholson, like up. Because this card hits me personally as someone that does not love confrontation or being a winner at the cost of somebody else. And that's what this card is about. So, what are the 3 words according to Daily Divinity? I would say dishonor, pretty solid. Word to describe the Five of Swords is dishonor. You could also say, I think, sore winner or sore loser, but whatever it is, it's sore. It's like not was not an honorable win. Conflict, right? There was clearly a battle here. And I would also say extremes, and we'll talk about why that is. So again, dishonor, conflict, extremes. Visual. What is in this card? You like hear me taking these deep ass breaths, right? Because the swords have put me on a journey this morning as I've been describing them because I didn't realize the swords, the minor arcana for the swords are like heavier somehow than the other suits. And I do have if you are interested in the swords, generally I have a overview of the suit and the energy that it represents, the element, the astrological signs that are associated with that suit, although it does get more complicated than just simply air signs. Um, so if you'd like to check out the swords overview, you can. And I also have a Tarot 101 video if you want to learn how to read the Celtic Cross and kind of an intro, an introduction to the major and minor arcana. All right, enough chit chat. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever, you know the deal. Visual, okay, visual focus. Clearly I have ADHD. Focus. The visual of this card. The card, I'm gonna do what I've been doing, which is describe the background first, and then, okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this pen will do just fine. I'm gonna describe the background first, and then the figure, and then some details that are kind of more minor, relatively more minor. The background, probably the biggest in terms of physical space. The biggest thing that you can see in the background of this card are the kind of like muted blue skies. Notice I did not say bright blue, okay? Just to give you an idea of how blue this can get. Here's the Page of Swords, okay? Notice the difference in the brightness of the blue with the muted blue of the Five of Swords. I think that's important to know. Then there are these gray clouds. They are not puffy. They are pretty enormous. They take up maybe half of they're spread out, but altogether they would take up about half of that sky. Um, I think I don't know meteorology, like I'm not a cloud expert. I don't even know who studies clouds. I don't even know if it is a meteorologist. But these clouds, they look like it's a windy day. Okay, someone's yelling outside. It, perhaps they're feeling a little bit Five of Swordsy. Um, moving on. Moving on, which, by the way, you can see the Six of Swords for moving on. Okay. Um, it's a windy day, which you can note by the clouds, by the gray clouds. All right. In the front, in the foreground of this image, is the biggest figure, the main character of this card. We could call him the Five. Even though there are two figures in the background, he is by far the largest um, figure. He is not front and center. He is front and to the side, which I do think that's important. His hair is blonde. He is white, as all the Rider-Waite characters are. If you would like a more inclusive, like racially inclusive deck, please see the Modern Witch Tarot deck. It's wonderful. It's very popular. People love it, and so do I. Okay, getting back to this white man who clearly won at the expense of his friends. Green robe, red undergarments, both on his legs and on his arms, which we'll talk about the meaning of red and green. His feet are in some yellow boots, and he's standing firmly on a ground which looks almost like concrete. It is so smooth. It's not earth, it's just a gray, smooth floor. And then behind him, oh, wait, hold on. I should note, he is looking back and he's holding in his, what is that, left hand? In his left hand, which we'll talk about what the left and the right mean. In his left hand, he is holding two swords, and in his right hand, he's holding one sword. In his left hand, the two swords are pointed up, and in his right hand, the sword is pointed down and to the side. They're both pointed to the side. Left, two, up, right, one, down. In the background are his two friends. And I say that they're his friends because I guess I don't know that they're his friends. It just, I feel like I've heard some interpretation in the past that made sense to me where they were like, yeah, they're on the same team. But right now, I don't know. Visually, I can't tell that they're his friends. I just kind of know that. Um, they're in somewhat similar attire, but not the same colors. One of his friends is in yellow. The other friend is in a color that's so obscure because he's so small, I don't even know what color that is. Maybe white, maybe yellow, I don't know. There are two swords, presumably one for each friend, flat on the ground. Okay, I think I've described the whole card. Swords. Killing me, Smalls. Killing me, Swords. What is the meaning of the Five of Swords? Okay, well, we talked about dishonor, and we talked about the extremes. We talked about conflict. Let's break all of that down. I think let's start with the conflict because it's the easiest. The fives. There are four minor arcana cards, right? I mean, there are four minor arcana suits, and so for each number, for each position, there are four versions of it. So there are four different fives. In the swords, um, the fives can be about mentality, intellect, thoughts, beliefs, but the fives are always kind of about conflict, fighting, competition. Um, and so that's where the word conflict, that's where I drew that from. Uh, the Five of Pentacles is a little bit different in how the conflict is interpreted, but anyway, we're not on Pentacles right now, so. The extremes meaning of this card, I would say, is derived from mostly um, two things. The size difference in the main character and his quote unquote friends, and the clouds. So the size difference is very clear. And the clouds are they are extreme in the sense that they are moving. Like it's windy, it's a windy day. Um, I would also say it's extreme in the sense that not just the size difference of the figures, but the fact that he is to the side of this card and his friends are on the other side. So there's this extreme in terms of how they're positioned. Um, Almost pitted against each other, right? There's that conflict again. He's not holding any of these swords in fighting stance, aka he's not about to use the sword. He's kind of just bragging. Um, he's kind of just being a sore winner and looking back at his friends and smiling and just being a general kind of an asshole. Um, but I would say there is some level of recognition here that that's what he's being. Like I think on some level he is conscious and aware that he's not being very honorable right now. The fact that he's holding those two swords in one hand and one sword in the other is this discrepancy. Like he's not sure about what he's done, and even though he's smiling and looking back like ha 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 ha, he's unsure. He's not. There's not a synchronous or um, it's not fitting. Something about this. It's he's not. What's the word I'm thinking of? Integrity. He's not integral. He's not whole, right? Because if he were, then swords wise, visually wise, there would be two swords in both of his hands and they would both be pointed in similar directions. But they're not. They're not. I would also say there's some level of dishonor represented in the water. I didn't mention this in the visual, I apologize. There is water between the clear, muted skies and the smooth ground that he is firmly planted on. Between that, there is choppy water and some mountains in the distance. And I would say the choppy water is further confirmation that this is a dishonorable conflict because those emotions are difficult. They're difficult to get through, right? If water is representative of emotions and relationships, then choppy waters signify that relationships and emotions suck right now. Like they're not fun, they're not calm, they're not just not it right now. So that is That is the meaning of this card. And I would say the message, right? So if that's the meaning, then what's the message? Is this card calling you an asshole? Well, no. Not necessarily, right? Take what's useful, take what resonates. This card might be saying to you that there's a different perspective, a different a shift in perspective that might be useful, or a shift in behavior that might be useful to not only other people but to you. Um, oh, I there was one thing I wanted to mention in terms of meaning that he's wearing the main figure, the main character figure. He's wearing green and red. Green is a color that signifies growth, and red is a color that signifies power. So I would say that, and yellow, which is on his feet, signifies awareness, enlightenment. The combination of these colors tell me that he is trying, he is wearing a positive self, right? He is trying to literally dress up like a better person. So there really is this kind of not just conflict in the card, but an inner conflict within the main character. Not just represented in how the left is doing something different than the right, but also in the fact that he is wearing colors, bright colors that are like, here's who I want to be. Here's who I'm trying to be. Versus the guy who's smiling at his friends who are looking away and not wanting anything to do with him. Their swords are not even in their hands. The fight is over. Like, it's done. Okay, so the message here is a perspective shift that will allow some integrity. Okay? How can you see the conflict differently to be more who you really want to be? I'm going to say that again. So that we're moving into the questions here. How can you see this conflict differently to better align with who you want to be? How can you approach, right? So behaviorally, not just perspective, actionably. I don't know if that's a word. How can you act in accordance with who you want to be, is what this card is saying. I think also another question is, what battle have you already won? Like, what battle did you win and you can just walk away from now? And you can, or not just walk away, but like make amends, atone for how you won the battle. Because it wasn't honorable. Like, we know that. We see that. So what's your next move? After the battle is done, what is your next move? So those are the questions from Five of Swords, according to me, Daily Divinity. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed, stay divine, stay beautiful, stay good, stay as honorable as you can. Thank you.